which will make him the highest paid wide receiver in the sport. So he is reunited with fellow Fresno State quarterback Derek Carr, and now they're going to be in Vegas. Pete Prisco jumping aboard. All right, Pete, why do I do this if I'm Green Bay? I'm win now. I'm the 1 seed last year. I get Aaron Rodgers to come back. I can franchise tag him. I can kick the can down the road. Why do this?
This doesn't make much sense to me if you're the Green Bay Packers. You bring Rodgers back on that big deal and you trade away his top receiver. And I know that the franchise tag was something that he was not going to play for. And if this contract was any indication, the Packers would have had a hard time squeezing this in. This is a mega contract at, $28 million a year for a wide receiver. So I get it to some degree, but why bring Rodgers back and then do this? That doesn't make any sense to me. I think they'll bring back Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He'll come back, and I think he'll be, their number one wide receiver, at least their outside threat. And they do have draft picks now. And in this draft, there are a lot of good receivers in this draft to try and, build up back the arsenal again for Aaron Rodgers. So it's a surprise in a big way, considering they brought Aaron Rodgers back. But I understand it from the standpoint of $28 million is an awful lot of money for a wide receiver.
Yeah, that's sort of the follow-up here. So if you're telling me that he wouldn't have played for the franchise tag and he would have sat the year out potentially, and if you're saying my choices if I'm Green Bay are have him sit out and be a distraction or give him $28 million a year, if you were Green Bay, would you have paid him $28 million a year? Would you have risked him sitting out, or would you have made the deal?
I probably would have stuck to the franchise tag because I don't think guys are going to sit out anymore. I just don't. There's too much money to be leaving on the field. There's only so many earning years in your body. I don't think you would have sat out. I would have stuck to my guns. But you would have played the same game again next year. And so I think that's why ultimately they decided to make the decision. He's not a kid anymore. He's getting up in the years for a wide receiver. He's still a really good player, don't get me wrong. But we know how this league is. It goes quickly. I'm not saying it's going to happen to him, but 3 or 4 years ago, Julio Jones was a top receiver in this league, and look where he is now. So I do think that there is some of that involved here as well. And if you're the Raiders, you're looking around your division. Everybody's loading up. The entire division is loading up. You get Russell Wilson there. You get Khalil Mack in that division. On and on it goes. The only team that's really not making a lot of moves is the Chiefs, and we know they're one of the best teams in the league. So you have to do stuff, and they did. And I give them an A for being aggressive. And they needed to get a guy who can get the football from Derek Carr. And by the way, Adams and Carr are friends from their Fresno days. They're good friends. Some people say they might even be best friends.
All right, so the first question when you hear this is, what? And then the second question is, wait. Aaron Rodgers, decided to come back. Now they're trading Davante Adams. Do you think they consulted Aaron Rodgers? And if not, what do you think he's thinking and maybe doing?
Well, I think the relationship between he and the organization has improved enough that he did do the deal to come back. So I would imagine, and that was one of the problems he had with him in the past, was he didn't consult with him. And when they drafted Jordan Love, he was not consulted with, and that upset him. So I imagine before this deal was made, they did. And I'm sure they called him and said, look, these are our options here. We can maybe risk not having him during the regular season if he decided to sit out and go through this process for the next couple of years, or we can get draft picks for him and go get some young receivers and try and do it that way. So I would imagine they did call him this time around because there was such bad blood the last time around with the Jordan Love
Well,
pick.
Pete, let me even say it sort of more directly. And I realize I'm speculating at this point in time. But what do you think the chances are that Green Bay, when they made their offer to Aaron Rodgers, basically 3 years, $50 million a year, said to him, look, we're going to give this to you, but that means we can't bring him in for 5 years at $30 million a year. Do you think they had the conversation before he signed the deal?
No, I don't. I think the conversation was he's under the tag. We'd like to get a long-term deal done. And if we can, we'll bring him back. If not, he plays on the tag. And then he started hearing the talk that he wasn't going to play for the tag. And as that continued, then I'm sure they grew frustrated with it. And they said, look, if he's not going to play for the tag, let's get some assets for him when he's still, a guy that can bring a lot of assets. So I understand it. Would I have done it? Probably not, because I think the Packers are still ready to go push for a Super Bowl in a bad NFC, by the way. The NFC is wide open. Get the Bucs, the Packers, And the Rams, I think, are the best teams, and whatever the 49ers do with their quarterback position is to be determined. So I think it's wide open in the NFC. This is why this is a surprise to me.
All right, now, meanwhile, you got the AFC West, which is becoming the SEC of the NFL, right? I mean, they are loaded to the gills. I mean, you can't spot the homecoming game in this division. The Raiders, I think most people figured coming into today, or at least when they woke up this morning, well, they're fourth of four. They made the playoffs last year. Where are the Raiders now? What does this do for them and their standing in this division?
Well, I still think they're the fourth of four, but it's going to be a competitive fourth of four, and wouldn't shock me to see them be two. I mean, you're right. They did make the playoffs last year, A. And B, I think Josh McDaniels is going to be a much better coach the second time around. I think he learned a ton from his first experience as a head coach. He was arrogant. He'd be the first one to tell you that. He learned how to be a head coach, and it was a lesson that I think he'll carry over here and be a much better coach, and he'll be much better for Derek Carr. So the Raiders are going to be tough. It's not like they're going to be a walkover. That division, like you said, and I've said it all along, that's the SEC of the NFL. It's a power division. Quarterbacks, pass rushers, pass catchers, they have it all. It's going to be fun to watch.
All right, so let's wrap it up by saying, where does Green Bay do at wide receiver? You're telling me they're going to have the same people in the room they had last year, except just not 17? That it's just going to be MVS and company? They're not going to bring anybody else in? So the plan is maybe pick a rookie with the 22nd pick. It's not like I'm getting a top 5 pick. It's not like I'm getting Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle. I mean, no, if there's somebody that good, they're going to be gone. I'm getting the 22nd pick in players, and that's it? That's the plan? Or do you think they have a plan B where maybe they can get somebody else?
Well, why not go explore Julio Jones on a 1-year deal? I mean, it would make sense. I mean, don't break the bank for him. Get him in there. Give him some incentive-laden deal and get him on the roster. Bring back Valdez-Scantling. He can flat out fly. I think he's a guy who's underrated on this market. He's not getting enough attention, at least by my standards. I think he's a much better player than people give him credit for. And then you go into the draft. The draft is loaded. There's probably 8 to 10 receivers are going to be big-time players in this draft. You know, whether it's Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson or maybe Jamison Williams, you wait a little bit for him and he gets healthy after his knee injury. There's a ton of receivers in this draft all the way down into the second, third, and fourth round. They can get a couple receivers to really come in and help right away, I think.
There's Pete Prisco on the situation as it is emerging. Davante Adams has been traded to the Raiders. We are still awaiting the details of what exactly they're getting back. But we know that it's at least going to be the first-round pick that the Raiders have, which is the 22nd overall, and maybe they go wide receiver to replace him. I don't know if a rookie's going to replace this, right? I mean, maybe you fall into Justin Jefferson. He wasn't the first or second receiver taken by Minnesota, but he's in your division, and you're now going to have to replace a $123 grabs, 1,500-plus yards, 11 touchdowns, and oh, by the way, those numbers per game were even better the year before. This is an elite production player that is now going to the Raiders, and he is the highest paid wide receiver, 5 years, $141.25 million.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.